On a crisp autumn morning in September 2018, the small town of Bloomington, Indiana, woke up to what seemed like another ordinary day. The local newspaper's front page featured a wedding announcement that would later become the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons. The headline read, "Local business owner Marcus Reynolds weds beauty consultant Sarah Mitchell in intimate ceremony." The truth behind this seemingly perfect union would unravel in ways nobody could have predicted. What made this story particularly shocking wasn't just its tragic end, but how it began, with a simple cup of coffee at the town's favorite cafe, the Morning Brew, 2 years earlier. Marcus Reynolds, 34, was a successful restaurant owner who had built his business from scratch. His steakhouse, the Prime Cut, was the go-to place for special occasions in Bloomington. With his tall frame, dark hair, and winning smile, he was considered quite a catch by the local singles. But Marcus had a secret that would later prove devastating. He had been diagnosed with HIV 3 years earlier and had been quietly managing his condition with medication. Sarah Mitchell, 31, was new to Bloomington. She'd moved from Chicago, bringing with her a successful career as a beauty consultant for a high-end cosmetics brand. Her striking features, long blonde hair, and confident personality turned heads wherever she went. But Sarah also carried a secret. She was transgender, having completed her transition 5 years before moving to Bloomington. Her documentation had been legally changed, and she'd made a conscious decision to leave her past behind in Chicago. The day they met, Marcus had been reviewing his restaurant's quarterly numbers at the Morning Brew when Sarah walked in. She'd spilled her latte on her white blouse, and Marcus, ever the gentleman, offered his napkin. Their eyes met, and both felt an immediate connection. That chance encounter led to dinner that evening, and soon they were inseparable. Their courtship was a whirlwind of romantic dinners, weekend getaways, and shared dreams. To the outside world, they appeared to be the perfect couple. Sarah had found someone who appreciated her for who she was in the present, while Marcus had found someone who didn't judge him for his medical condition, or so he thought, as he had never disclosed his HIV status to her. Both carried their secrets into their marriage, each believing they could maintain their silence forever. Sarah had convinced herself that her past didn't matter anymore, while Marcus rationalized that with proper medication and precautions, his condition wouldn't affect their relationship. The wedding was a lavish affair at the historic Fountain Square Mall. 200 guests witnessed their exchange of vows, unaware of the time bomb ticking beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect union. Sarah wore a designer gown that accentuated her figure, while Marcus looked dashing in his tailored tuxedo. Their first dance was to "At Last" by Etta James, a choice that would later seem tragically ironic. The first night of their honeymoon at the West Baden Springs Hotel was everything they had dreamed of. They shared champagne on their suite's balcony, made plans for their future, and fell asleep in each other's arms. Everything seemed perfect. Until the second night. It was an accident, the kind that changes lives forever. While Sarah was taking a shower, Marcus was unpacking their suitcases, trying to find their dinner reservations confirmation. As he searched through Sarah's handbag, he found a small cosmetics bag. Inside was a bottle of hormones, along with medical documents from a Chicago clinic specializing in gender reassignment procedures. Marcus sat on the bed, documents trembling in his hands, as the shower continued to run in the background. His mind raced through every moment they'd shared, every intimate detail of their relationship. He felt betrayed, angry, and confused. The woman he'd married, the person he'd shared his life with for the past 2 years, had kept this fundamental truth from him. When Sarah emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a hotel robe, she found Marcus sitting in silence. The documents spread out on the bed. The color drained from her face as she realized her carefully constructed world was about to collapse. "How could you?" Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "I wanted to tell you so many times," Sarah began, tears forming in her eyes. "I was afraid of losing you, afraid of being judged, afraid of everything I'd built here crumbling away." The argument that followed was explosive. Guests in neighboring rooms would later report hearing shouting and the sound of items being thrown. Marcus felt his entire relationship had been built on a lie. while Sarah desperately tried to explain that she was still the same person he'd fallen in love with. What happened next would shock the conscience of the entire community. Marcus, in his state of anger and betrayal, made a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. Instead of seeking divorce or counseling, he chose revenge. Over the next few weeks, Marcus maintained a facade of working through their issues. He suggested they continue living together while they figured things out. Sarah, desperate to save their marriage, agreed. What she didn't know was that Marcus had stopped taking his HIV medication. Marcus's plan was calculated. He knew that discontinuing his medication would increase his viral load, making transmission more likely. He also knew that what he was planning was not just morally reprehensible, but criminal. Yet, in his mind, twisted by anger and betrayal, he convinced himself that Sarah deserved it for deceiving him. For 2 months, they continued living together, trying to maintain a normal life on the surface, while their relationship crumbled beneath. Sarah noticed Marcus becoming more distant, more aggressive in their intimate moments, but she attributed it to their ongoing struggles with her revelation. In December 2018, Sarah began experiencing symptoms: fever, fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes. At first, she dismissed it as stress-related, but as her condition worsened, she sought medical help. The diagnosis came as a shock. She was HIV positive. When confronted, Marcus's response was chilling. "Now you know what it feels like to have your life changed by someone else's secret," he said, revealing his own HIV status and what he'd done. Sarah's world collapsed for the second time. She immediately contacted the police, and Marcus was arrested for knowingly transmitting HIV, a felony in Indiana. The case made headlines across the state, bringing attention to issues of revenge, discrimination, and the laws surrounding HIV transmission. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn, one that nobody saw coming. During the investigation, it was revealed that Marcus had known about Sarah's gender identity all along. A former employee of his restaurant came forward with emails Marcus had written 6 months before the wedding, discussing Sarah's background and expressing his acceptance of it. He had planned the entire revenge scenario before they even got married, using her fear of discovery as a weapon. The truth was that Marcus had been engaged before, to a woman who left him after learning about his HIV status. That rejection had scarred him deeply, leading him to plot an elaborate scheme of revenge, not specifically against Sarah, but against anyone who he felt might reject him for his condition. Sarah, with her secret, had seemed like the perfect target. The investigation uncovered more disturbing details. Marcus had specifically sought out Sarah after learning about her background through a mutual acquaintance in Chicago. He had orchestrated their chance meeting at the Morning Brew, deliberately spilling her coffee to create an opportunity to interact. Everything, from their courtship to their marriage, had been part of his calculated plan for revenge. The trial began in March 2019 and lasted for 3 weeks. The courthouse in Bloomington was packed every day with media, curious locals, and advocates from both LGBTQ+ and HIV awareness groups. The case had touched nerves across multiple communities and raised important questions about trust, disclosure, and revenge. Marcus's defense team tried to paint him as a victim of deception, but the evidence of his premeditation was overwhelming. The emails, his medical records showing the deliberate discontinuation of medication, and testimony from the former employee all painted a picture of calculated revenge rather than emotional reaction. Sarah's testimony was powerful. She spoke about trust, love, and the devastating impact of Marcus's betrayal. "I kept my past private because I wanted to be judged for who I am now," she told the court. He used that privacy as a weapon, not because he was hurt, but because he had planned to hurt me all along. The prosecution presented evidence that Marcus had not only planned to infect Sarah, but had documented his plans in a private journal found during the investigation. The journal entries dated back to before their first meeting, describing his strategy in clinical detail. In June 2019, Marcus Reynolds was found guilty of knowingly transmitting HIV with intent to harm. The judge, citing the premeditated nature of his actions, sentenced him to 30 years in prison, the maximum penalty under Indiana law. He was also ordered to pay substantial restitution for Sarah's medical expenses. Sarah's story didn't end with the verdict. She became an advocate for both transgender rights and HIV awareness, sharing her story to help others and push for changes in legislation. She started a support group for transgender individuals in Bloomington and worked with HIV/AIDS organizations to promote awareness and prevention. The case led to changes in Indiana law, with new provisions added to hate crime legislation and stronger penalties for crimes involving deliberate HIV transmission. It also sparked important conversations about disclosure, trust, and acceptance in relationships. The story divided the small community of Bloomington. Some sympathized with Marcus, despite his actions, arguing that both parties had kept secrets. Others stood firmly with Sarah, pointing out the vast difference between keeping one's past private and deliberately causing physical harm. The Prime Cut restaurant, once a popular local establishment, closed its doors 6 months after Marcus's arrest. The building remained empty for a year before being bought and transformed into a community center that, ironically, now hosts support groups for both the LGBTQ+ community and people living with HIV/AIDS. Sarah stayed in Bloomington, refusing to be driven away by the scandal. She found support in unexpected places, from former employees of the Prime Cut who shared stories of Marcus's controlling and manipulative behavior, from local religious leaders who spoke out against hatred and discrimination, and from medical professionals who helped her manage her new health reality. Today, Sarah Mitchell continues to live in Bloomington, working as both a beauty consultant and a motivational speaker. She's become a respected voice in discussions about transgender rights and HIV awareness. Her story has been featured in national magazines and documentary films, though she maintains that her goal isn't fame, but change. Marcus Reynolds serves his sentence at the Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. He has shown no remorse for his actions, maintaining that he was the victim of deception. His appeals have been unsuccessful, with courts consistently upholding his conviction and sentence. The case has become a teaching tool in law schools across the country, used to discuss the intersection of hate crimes, intent, and premeditation. It's also studied in sociology classes as an example of how prejudice and revenge can manifest in unexpected and devastating ways. The story of Marcus and Sarah continues to resonate because it touches on universal themes of trust, betrayal, and the human capacity for both love and revenge. It raises questions about what we owe to those we love in terms of disclosure, and what lines can never be crossed, regardless of perceived wrongs. For the people of Bloomington, the case was a wake-up call. It showed that hatred and prejudice can hide behind charming smiles and successful businesses. It demonstrated how secrets and lies can destroy lives, but also how resilience and truth can rebuild them. Local support groups report that both HIV testing and requests for counseling increased significantly after the case became public. The Bloomington LGBTQ+ Center saw a surge in people seeking information about safe disclosure and relationship advice. The case sparked difficult but necessary conversations about acceptance, honesty, and the consequences of revenge. In a final ironic twist, investigation into Marcus's past revealed that his original fiancée, the one he claimed had rejected him due to his HIV status, had actually ended their relationship because she discovered his controlling and manipulative behavior. His entire narrative of being a victim of discrimination had been yet another lie in a web of deception. Sarah's story continues to evolve. She's recently completed a book about her experiences scheduled for publication next year. She's also engaged to a local doctor who helped treat her after her diagnosis, a relationship built on complete honesty from the beginning. The case of Marcus Reynolds and Sarah Mitchell serves as a powerful reminder that the truth, however difficult, is always less destructive than revenge. It shows how hatred can consume a person so completely that they're willing to destroy lives to satisfy their desire for vengeance. But it also demonstrates how resilience, support, and honesty can help rebuild what deception and revenge try to destroy. The streets of Bloomington still buzz with whispers of this story, but they're no longer filled with judgment and scandal. Instead, they carry lessons about acceptance, truth, and the importance of looking beyond surfaces to see the real person beneath. In the end, this case wasn't just about a marriage built on secrets. It was about the choices we make when those secrets come to light. and how those choices define not just our futures, but the very essence of who we are. And perhaps that's the most important lesson from this tragic tale, that our response to betrayal reveals more about our character than the betrayal itself. While Marcus chose a path of calculated destruction, Sarah chose to transform her pain into purpose, her suffering into strength, and her story into a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. In the quiet moments at the Morning Brew where this story began, new couples still meet, fall in love, and build relationships. But now they do so in a community that's a little more aware, a little more understanding, and a little more conscious of the fact that love, in its truest form, must be built on a foundation of honesty, acceptance, and respect. The story of Marcus and Sarah has become more than just a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that while truth may be painful, revenge is poisonous, and that the path to healing lies not in hurting others, but in learning to accept both others and ourselves for who we truly are. 5 years after the trial that shook Bloomington, new details about Marcus Reynolds' past continued to surface, painting an even darker picture of calculated manipulation that stretched back decades. Through extensive investigative reporting by the Indianapolis Star and cooperation from people from Marcus's past, a clearer picture emerged. The woman Marcus had claimed rejected him due to his HIV status, Jennifer Martinez, finally came forward with her full story. Now a successful attorney in Seattle, she revealed that their engagement had ended for reasons far more disturbing than Marcus had claimed. "I found a notebook," Jennifer shared in her first public interview. It contained detailed plans about how he intended to control every aspect of my life after marriage. He had written down schedules for when I should eat, sleep, and even what clothes I should wear. There were plans to gradually isolate me from my family and friends. When I confronted him, he became physically threatening. That's when I ran. Jennifer's revelation led to other women coming forward. A pattern emerged of Marcus targeting successful, independent women with some form of vulnerability or secret in their past. Sarah hadn't been his first attempt at such manipulation. She had been his most elaborate and cruel execution of a plan he'd been perfecting for years. Further investigation revealed that Marcus had maintained a network of fake social media accounts used to gather information about potential targets. Investigators found detailed dossiers on at least 3 other women in the Bloomington area, all successful professionals with private struggles or secrets they wanted to keep hidden. Sarah's response to these revelations showcased her remarkable resilience. Her upcoming book, Beyond Revenge, A Story of Truth and Transformation, not only details her own experience, but includes testimonies from Marcus's other potential victims who narrowly escaped his web of manipulation. Her relationship with Dr. Michael Chen, who had been part of her initial treatment team, blossomed into something neither of them expected. Their wedding, planned for spring 2025, is being designed as a celebration of truth, acceptance, and new beginnings. They've chosen to hold it at the community center that replaced the Prime Cut, a powerful symbol of transformation. The Bloomington LGBTQ+ Center, where Sarah now serves as a board member, has established the Truth and Dignity Foundation, providing support and legal assistance to individuals facing discrimination or manipulation in relationships. The foundation has already helped over 200 people escape potentially dangerous relationships and supported them through the process of rebuilding their lives. Marcus's current life in prison presents a stark contrast. Despite multiple opportunities for rehabilitation programs, he maintains his stance as the victim. His former cellmate, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that Marcus spends his time writing elaborate justifications for his actions, still unable or unwilling to acknowledge the calculated nature of his crimes. The medical professionals treating Sarah report that her HIV is well managed through medication, and she's turned her health journey into another avenue for advocacy. She works closely with HIV/AIDS organizations, emphasizing that while the condition affects her life, it doesn't define her. Perhaps the most powerful outcome of this story is its impact on Indiana legislation. The Sarah Mitchell Act, passed in 2023, strengthens protections for victims of intentional HIV transmission and includes provisions for considering premeditated deception as an aggravating factor in sentencing. The Act also provides additional resources for transgender individuals facing discrimination or relationship violence. Local police departments across Indiana now use this case in their training programs, teaching officers to look beyond initial appearances and recognize signs of calculated manipulation and premeditated revenge. The Bloomington Police Department has established a special unit dedicated to investigating complex cases involving relationship deception and potential hate crimes. Sarah's story has been optioned for a major documentary film, but she insisted that any project must focus not on the sensational aspects of her story, but on education and prevention. The documentary, currently in production, includes interviews with psychologists, legal experts, and advocates, examining how society can better protect vulnerable individuals from calculated manipulation. The Morning Brew Cafe, where the story began, now displays a small plaque that reads, "Let truth be your compass and kindness your guide." It's become a symbol of hope in the community, reminding people that even from the darkest deception, light can emerge. As Sarah prepares for her new life with Dr. Chen, she continues to receive letters from people around the world who have been touched by her story. She answers each one personally, offering the same message. The truth of who you are is never a burden too heavy to bear. It's the foundation upon which real love can finally build its home. The epilogue of this story continues to be written, not just in Sarah's life, but in the lives of countless others who have found courage in her journey. It stands as a testament to the power of truth over deception, of love over hate, and of the human spirit's remarkable capacity to transform tragedy into triumph. In Bloomington today, people still talk about Marcus and Sarah, but the conversation has changed. It's no longer a story of scandal and revenge. It's become a lesson in authenticity, resilience, and the endless possibilities that open up when we choose truth over deception and healing over harm.